Across Pokemon Emerald, you fight over 800 times against trainers. Of those over 800 battles, only 30 are against either youngsters or lasses. Today, I'm going to try and find out if among any of those trainers, there's one who can manage to get all 8 badges and get to the Elite 4. Before starting, here's the rules for how I'm going to do it. I'm going to use each of their teams and fight every team leader while using level caps. If the Pokemon is below or above their evolution level, they're going to be used using the form that should be appropriate for that point in the game. If the team cannot get past that battle, the trainer gets disqualified. Besides that, since I'm taking the role of a random trainer, I'm not going to be allowed to use many features that will make the fights easier, such as potions, heal items, or even TMs. That is, unless stated otherwise. I'll talk about that later. I'll also be using set mode for all of the battles and teaching the Pokemon their level up moves if I find them useful. With that out of the way, let's see if one of them can get to the Elite 4. Now, I could start with the first youngster or last that you fight, but since a lot of them have similar teams, I think for the sake of making this video more interesting, I'm going to go in order of how many Pokemon their team has and also how many unique Pokemon it has, with how early you find them being not so relevant. So, to start, we have youngster Josh from the Rossboro gym. He has a team consisting of a single Geodude, so you know this is going to be a short one. I get it to level 15 and start the fight against Roxanne, where the issues become immediately obvious. The only attacking moves my Geodude has are Tackle and Rock Throw, while she has 2 Geodudes that resist both of those attacks and potions to heal. My Geodude can barely defeat the first one, but by the time the second one comes out, my Geodude doesn't have the HP or the power points to fight any longer. There is one more thing I can do though, but it would involve bordering on breaking the rules. See, I said that I would use level caps. However, I didn't mention anything about how much experience the Pokemon would have when entering the fight. So if I get Geodude close to leveling up, when he defeats the first Pokemon on Roxanne's team, he's going to get the move Magnitude, which is super effective against rock types. With that move, Geodude easily swept the rest of her team. Not the cleanest victory, but a victory nonetheless. As for Broly, yeah, this one is a difficult one. Geodude would need to be extremely lucky with Magnitude rolls for him to win. Machop and Meditite aren't that much of an issue. I would just need to not low roll against Machop and everything should be fine. Magohira, however, is a different story. I would need to get either a Magnitude 10, which is a 5% chance, or a crit on a decent roll. If I don't, he hits for more than half HP with Vital Throw, heals with his Citrus Berry, and then outspeeds and KOs me. Eventually, I do manage to win, but it takes me until my 10th attempt. I really don't know if I should count it as a victory, but since I'm using a move that's relying on some luck already, I think it's fair game. Opposite to that fight was Watson, and because Geodude is part ground, that meant that all of his electric moves, including Thunder Wave, were not able to hit him, so I just breezed my way through with Magnitude. Not much else to say besides that Geodude is really good for these fights. Next was Flannery, and with my newly evolved Graveler, I was ready to easily win. I could have evolved it even further to Golem, but I wanted to hold on for a bit. The reality, however, was a bit different. If I let her set up a Sunny Day, I lose to Overheat. If I get bad luck on my Magnitude rolls, I lose. If I get hit by Attract against Torkoal, it's very likely that I lose. However, if none of those things happen, and I get good enough rolls, it's not impossible to win. In fact, it's very likely that it can happen, as it only took me 3 attempts to win. Afterwards is Norman, and this is the point at which Graveler's run comes to a stop. The luck required for this fight is unreal. Graveler now has Rollout, so the best strategy is to go for the Fence Curl and then roll out. The problem is that the first Pokemon on Norma's team, Spinda, almost always opens up with Teeter Dance. As if that wasn't enough, his next Pokemon Slaking has John to also stop the rollout. Not to mention Counter to straight up defeat me. On my furthest attempt, I managed to reach Linoon with only 4 HP, but he easily defeated me with Headbutt. I would need so much stuff to go right that it would be better to just move on to the next trainer. I even tried using Golem, but he also lost against the same things. Still, a pretty impressive result for a team composed of only 1 Pokemon. Now let's move on to the next trainer. The second trainer is going to be Last Janice from Route 104, and she has a team consisting of a single Meryl. I would usually make it so her team would be a Surreal since it's Meryl's pre-evolution, but since she already had a Meryl and you can catch them in the wild before the first gym, I think it's fine to keep it as a Meryl. Also, something that I didn't mention before is that trainers use the first ability of their Pokemon. What that means for Meryl is that it's going to have the ability Thick Fat instead of Huge Power. Anyways, with access to Water Gun right off the bat, taking out the first two Geodudes of Roxanne was no issue. The problem came when she sent out Nose Pass. Something that I didn't know about Meryl is that it has only 20 base special attack. A freaking Rattata has more special attack than Meryl. Because of that, it was a very close fight against Roxanne's Nose Pass. I still won, but if she had used Rock Tomb one more time, I would have lost. Next was Broly, and because of the level cap of 19, I could evolve my Meryl into a Sumaril. Unfortunately, she's still using Water Gun, so even though a Sumaril got her special attack more than doubled, that is not going to be enough to beat him. I have Rollout with Defense Curl and I tried using it, but the line to win is so specific that it might as well be impossible. I would need to defeat Machop with my 5th rollout while also getting him to use a Super Potion, defeat Meditite with my 4th rollout, and then hit Makuhita with the next rollout. That requires way too much luck, and it's just not something that can happen unless you try like 100 times. The third trainer we're going to look at is at the famous Youngster Joey from Road 116, and he has a team consisting of a single Machop. No Rattatas in this game. Not really sure how this one is going to go, but with Guts as Machop's ability, it could make for a pretty interesting run. Roxanne was obviously easy, so let's just skip to Broly. His Machop likes to go for Bulk Up, so I take the chance to set up a Focus Energy to increase my odds of hitting with a crit, since Karate Chop is a high crit move. After that, if I get a crit, I KO Machop without losing HP. Meditite after is really annoying. Machop doesn't learn any attacking move that's not fighting, so with Meditite being part Psychic, it drags the fight for a long time. Not to mention Broly's Super Potions. He only tries to go for Focus Punch, so my Machop also doesn't lose any HP on this fight. Makuhita is an issue however. I tried crit Karate Chop, I tried Guts, I tried at full HP, but nothing. The only way I could win would be a crit low kick, but the odds of that happening aren't in my favor, especially considering that I also have to crit against Machop with Karate Chop. I could keep trying and I would probably eventually get the crit, but even when taking into account Focus Energy, it doesn't seem likely. So unfortunately, I'll count this one as a loss. Next on the list of trainers with only one Pokemon on their team is Last Sally. From the first time you challenge the Trick House, and she has a team of a single Oddish. The dual typing is pretty cool, but I really don't see it getting past Watson's Magneton. I also don't want to deal with testing both Bellossom and Vileplume, since the game doesn't tell you what Sally would have chosen if given the choice. And now, there's a ton of trainers left, and since I don't want to bore you by saying at the start of most sections, and they easily beat Roxanne. Or, I don't think I need to tell you how Roxanne went. I'm going to skip saying that when having a water or a grass type on my team. That is, unless it has a hard time on that fight, or they lost against her somehow. So, Broly, something interesting happened during this fight. The only attacking move Oddish has at this point in the game is Absorb, getting Acid at level 24 as a Gloom. The issue with that is that Broly's fighting types don't take that much damage from special attacks, much less a weak Absorb coming from an Oddish. They also don't deal much damage thanks to the poison typing resisting fighting, but what that meant was that I was forced to use Poison Powder instead of Sleep Powder during this fight, because if I didn't, I ran out of power points on Absorb. On my best attempt, I managed to get Makuhita to low HP, but I didn't have any more Absorbs to use, and he easily defeated me with Reversal. The next trainer is Youngster Jalen from Route 113, and he has a team consisting of a single Trapinch. Trapinch has a really high attack, but super low speed, so I'm not getting my hopes up for this one. So there's good news and bad news. The good news is that Trapinch has immediate access to Bite, so it bypasses Geodude's great defenses since Dark-type moves are special in this gen. The bad news, however, is that it is the only attacking move Trapinch gets until level 17, when he gets Feint Attack, a move with the same typing and base power as Bite. On the attempts against Roxanne, Trapinch would always leave her nose pass with just a bit of HP. Because of that, the only choice I had left was to use Zen attack against her and hope that I would get lucky enough, leaving Trapinch one hit away from fainting. But it doesn't feel good to have to rely on such a move to win. Still, a victory is a victory. Moving on to Broly is where the issue I mentioned before starts to become a real problem, as Trapinch still only has access to Dark-type moves to use against his fighting types. Even with Sand Attack, there's simply no way Trapinch is able to win. The last with a single Pokemon is Andrea from the Sutopolis gym, and she has a team of a single Love Disc. It somehow has a worse special attack than a Sumaril, so I don't think this one is going to get very far. I managed to get to Makuhita against Broly just like with a Sumaril, but even when I used Charm to get him to -6 attack, it wasn't enough. His attacks were still doing too much damage, while my Water Gun wasn't doing much. I even got a run where I got to Makuhita with almost full HP, but with his Citrus Berry and Potions, I was obviously at a disadvantage. Last of the single Pokemon team trainers is Youngster Dylan from Route 113, and he has a team composed of a single Aeron. Would be cool to see a team of a single Aggron, however, with such a late evolution and a double weakness to fighting, I don't see that happening. Against Roxanne, Aeron does pretty well. As a level 15, it can have the moves Headbutt, Mud Slap, and Metal Claw, with Metal Claw being a super effective move that gets the same type attack bonus. Add to that Aeron resists both rock and normal type moves and he easily beats the gym. Not so easy was the fighting gym. I couldn't even make it past Broly's Machop. I got Iron Defense to boost Aeron's defenses by 2 stages, but even with that, it wasn't enough. That's a shame. Okay, so, with the teams of 1 Pokemon out of the way, let's get into the ones that have 2 Pokemon. And what better way to start than with Youngster Tommy from the Rossboro gym, who has a team of 2 Geodudes. We already know how one Geodude does, so I'll just get to the 5th gym. I swapped my strategy of using Rollout against Spinda to now using Magnitude. It's still not 100% safe, as I still get hit by Teeter Dance, but that way I get more damage early against him. Since I'm not using Rollout when Slacking comes out, I don't have a way to do too much damage besides getting lucky with Magnitude. At least I don't get immediately defeated by counter. Something else that I can use that I couldn't before is Self-Destruct. And as soon as Slacking got my first Graveler to low HP, I used the move to sacrifice him to KO Slacking. And since I still had a healthy Graveler against Vigoroth and Linoon, it wasn't that difficult to defeat both of them. Next is Winona, and there's one huge issue. Pelipper outspeeds and one-shots both of my Gravelers, even if they're at full HP. I really didn't see that one coming. Since Water Gun is just 40 base power, I thought that at best it was going to do half. But I guess that's how awful double weaknesses are, especially with a special defense as atrocious as Gravelers. I tried evolving both of them into Golem, but then the problem was Pelipper's Protect and Supersonic stopping my rollout, and Skarmory's Steel Wing doing too much damage. I've gotten lucky enough where I got past Pelipper and hit Skarmory with my last hit of rollout, but the odds of that happening again are so low that I don't think it should count. Not to mention that she still has an Altaria with Earthquake. So, regrettably, this is where Tommy's run ends. For the next trainers, there's a bunch of youngsters that are just Zigzagoon plus something else. And a lot of them end on Roxanne, with some not even being able to get past her first Geodude, so let's go quickly through them. The first one is Eddie, another trainer from the first time you challenged the Trick House, and he has a team of 2 Zigzagoons. I tried a couple of times the fight against Roxanne, with each attempt lasting over 5 minutes, but with their best moves being headbutts, there was no way they were going to win. Maybe if they could evolve, but even then I'm not sure. Next one is Allen from Route 102, and he has a team composed of Zigzagoon and Tailo. Do I need to say anything else? Let's just move on. Billy is a trainer from Route 104. He has a team of Zigzagoon and Seedot. Since the level cap for Roxanne is 15, that means that I can evolve Seedot into Nuzleaf. So that should maybe give me a decent chance against her. Unfortunately, even though Nuzleaf is a grass type, unlike something like Shroomish or Trico, he doesn't get a single grass type move by level up. You think that's bad? Get this, the only attacking move he gets for Roxanne is Nature Power, a move that turns into other ones depending on where you're fighting. In the case of gym fights, it means that it turns into Swift, a normal type move. It obviously didn't work. I also tried using Bite, but the luck required to defeat the Geodudes with it was not something realistic. And even if I did, I still had to deal with Nose Pass. Demetrius from the Abandoned Ship has a team of Zigzagoon and Electrike, and the best Electrike can do is try setting up Howls to boost the damage of his tackles. But with Geodude's high defenses and Defense Curl, it didn't really work out. The final Youngster Zigzagoon 2 Pokemon team is a really cool one. It's from Youngster Ben from the Mobile Gym, and he has a team of Zigzagoon and Gulpin. You might say, oh, cool, you can use Poison against Roxanne. And well, yes, that is really useful. What's interesting of his team is that he's the only youngster to use TMs, as his Zigzagoon knows Thunderbolt. There's another youngster that has a custom moveset, and that's Josh, the one that had a single Geodude. But it was so that he had only Tackle, so I didn't really feel the need to mention it. It's a really cool little detail about the trainer, but unfortunately for him, he's another trainer that cannot get past Roxanne. I can poison the Geodudes, but the problem is that I don't really have a way to stall for long enough for the poison to KO them. I tried Poison Gas with Gulpin and then switched to Zigzagoon who would spam Growl, but that only worked on the first Geodude. A real shame, since I really wanted to use Zigzagoon with Thunderbolt, even if it might have lost to Watson. Okay, so I know I said that was the last Zigzagoon team, but there's one more. And it's not from a youngster this time. It's from Lastiana from Route 102, who has a team of Zigzagoon and Shroomish. I already said that I was going to skip the Rodson fight if I had a Grass or Water move, but something that I wanted to mention was how Absorb wasn't a one-shot against the Geodudes. You left them on a sliver, forcing them to heal and then getting defeated by another Absorb. It surprised me how a Stab Grass-type move wasn't a one-shot against them. Still, the rest of the fight was easy thanks to Leech Seed Stall, so there were no issues there. However, like every other last we've seen thus far, the team cannot beat Broly. Machop does too much damage, and even if I beat him, Meditite can stall me out of Mega Drains if I'm not careful. And if I somehow manage to get to Makuhita, even if I paralyze him and use Leech Seed, he does too much damage to my Pokemon while healing with his Citrus Berry. If only Zigzagoon could evolve, maybe I could have a chance. But that's one level above the level cap for Broly. We're finally done with Zigzagoon, and what better way to celebrate than to use the team of Youngster Timmy from Route 110. He has a team of Aaron and Electrike. Since we know that Aaron by himself can beat Roxanne, let's skip to Broly and see if Electrike can help to get past that fight. Yeah, so turns out Electrike doesn't get an electric move until level 20. Until then, he has to rely on weak quick attacks. I could get him close to leveling up and then get Spark, but there's no way of getting him onto the field for shared experience without dooming the rest of the fight. On one attempt, I managed to get 2 consecutive flinches with Headbutt against Machop, which allowed me to get to Makuhita, but Quick Attack was doing so little damage that it wasn't even worth trying to continue. Last of the Youngsters 2 Pokemon teams is hopefully one that's more successful. Youngster Johnson from Route 116 has a team of Shroomish and Lotad. Like with Seedot, Lotad can evolve into Lombre before the gym, and even better, he has an attacking move besides Nature Power. It's only Absorb, but it's stronger than the one coming from Shroomish, and it works for the Roxanne gym. As for the Broly fight, for Machop, I sent Shroomish, and I used a combination of Leech Seed and Mega Drain to defeat him, making him waste a Super Potion in between. For Meditite, I had to use the rest of Shroomish Mega Drain power points before he went down, also making him waste another Super Potion. Since I knew that Makuhita was extremely bulky, my best bet was to stall and let Leech Seed slowly defeat him. And that's exactly what I did, using Sunspore and getting him to eat his berry before Shroomish got defeated. Surprisingly, however, when I sent the Lombre, he never managed to land a hit. The first time was because of Fake Out, but the next 2 turns he got fully paralyzed. So with the combined damage of Leech Seed and Absorb, the team managed to get the second badge. It was a bit luck reliance, but I think I just needed to get 1 full paralysis to win, considering that Makuhita was at +2 attack against a full HP Lombre. Unexpectedly, however, the team couldn't get past Watson. Even though I now have a Breloom with Mach Punch, it just wasn't enough to deal against his electric types. Voltorb and Electrike could easily be defeated by Breloom, and so was Magneton as long as I didn't get paralyzed thanks to Mach Punch. But Breloom just can't deal enough damage to Manectric. Add to that the paralysis, Mega Drain doing close to no damage, the Citrus Berry, and the Super Potions. And even when I still had Lombre with full HP in the back, I wasn't able to win. I also tried Little with Lombre, trying to bait out the self-destruct, but Voltorb refused to use the move and paralyzed the Lombre with Spark every time, making me lose him on most attempts. Really thought this team was going to be able to get past this fight easily, and then maybe lose to Flannery, but I guess it just doesn't. Finishing off the two Pokemon teams is Last Chrissy from the Zootopolis team, who has a pretty unique team of Goldeen and Welmer. Don't really think it's going to get past Watson, but hopefully we're going to see the first last to get past Broly. Now, even though Goldeen has Peck, it's not enough to two-shot Machop. Because of that, she has to take some damage when going into Broly's Makuhita, which meant that she could only hit him a couple of times before fainting. This activated Makuhita's Citrus Berry when Welmer came out, and unfortunately, Water Gun wasn't enough to defeat him. Even when I made sure to waste his Super Potions, Water Gun got just shy from defeating him. Really thought this was a team that was going to beat Broly. Okay, so there's 5 more trainers left to test. 2 youngsters and 3 lasses. All of them with 3 team members. To start, we have Last Robin from the first time you challenged the Trick House. She has a team of Skitty, Shroomish, and Meryl. This one has to be the one that beats Broly, for sure. It took me many attempts, but in the end, I figured out the strategy. I started with Shroomish against Machop and I opened up with Leech Seed. I then kept attacking with Mega Drain and this worked out without issues, even getting him to waste a Super Potion. Against Meditite, I also just went for Mega Drain, but as soon as she got in range of healing, I swapped to a Sumaril. I decided then to go for Rollout. It's not very effective against fighting types, and I can't risk going for defense core against Meditite, but after 4 attacks, it manages to defeat him. When Makuhita comes out, Rollout is at max power. It doesn't KO him, but it leaves him on the red, making him eat his berry. After that, it was just a matter of using Water Gun to defeat Broly. Something funny that happened that I thought I should mention is that while trying different strategies, I tried Rollout with a Sumaril from the start of the fight. It didn't really work when I tried with a team of Janice, but I still wanted to try it out. And to my surprise, it swept Broly's entire team. Granted, I didn't get crit by Karate Chop from Machop or any of his team members. There's also the fact that I managed to land 9 consecutive rollouts. So I don't think it really counts since I don't think I'll be able to pull that off again, but it was cool. For Watson, I led with Stiddy to try and bait out Self-Destruct. If that didn't work, I sent a Sumaril who should be able to deal with Voltorb by using Bubble Beam. For Electrike, I kept going with a Sumaril and once again, Bubble Beam was enough to defeat him. Magneton then defeated a Sumaril, so here's where I sent Breloom. In the attempt you're seeing, I got a crit, but what usually happened was that he paralyzed me. But thanks to Mach Punch priority, I should still be able to defeat him without taking damage. Lastly, for Manectric, I paralyzed and Leech Seeded him. Even if he had all of his healing items, with the damage from Mach Punch and the recovery of Leech Seed, Breloom was able to defeat him. As for Flannery, before going in, Skitty can evolve into Delcatty with the Moonstone you get from Meteor Falls. She will miss on some moves, but I feel like the average trainer would evolve their Pokemon right away. Anyways, for Flannery's first 3 Pokemon, I just used Bubble Beam with a Sumaril. Fun fact, a Sumaril's Bubble Beam doesn't one-shot neither Slugma nor Camerupt. Because of that, Slugma got to set up a light screen and Camerupt usually went for Sunny Day. They didn't do too much damage to a Sumaril though, and it also gave me the chance to waste all of her potions. So, it wasn't that bad. For Torkoal, since the sun was usually up and it weakened my water-type moves, I swapped to Delcatty to waste some turns. Then, when she went down, I sent Breloom and used Leech Seed to get some recovery for a Sumaril. With that, when a Sumaril came out, the weather was normal and Torkoal was both seated and at -2 attack, giving me an easy win. Norman was a tricky one. I led with Delcatty and used Attract against Spinda. After that, it was just a matter of luck. I could either slowly defeat Spinda with Double Slap or get slowly defeated by Facade and Teeter Dance Confusion. If I got defeated, I sent a Sumaril to finish things off. Vigoroth is next, and I tried going for Rollout on these attempts, but it clearly didn't work. So I sent Breloom and finished him off with 2 Mach Punches. The same goes for Linoon, but he used a potion, so I took the chance to recover some HP with Mega Drain. Finally, there was Norman slacking. He goes for either John, Counter, or a Facade that does more than half my HP in damage. The strategy was to use Leech Seed for recovery, Mach Punch on the turns he wasn't going to move, and Mega Drain when he was going to move, just in case he went for counter. And even though on this attempt he put me to sleep with John, thanks to Leech Seed, I surprisingly still managed to win. Not so surprising was my defeat against Winona. Delcatty could easily beat Swablu, and with the combined effort of my whole team, I could somewhat reliably defeat Tropius. It's Pelipper once again, the annoying one. The best strategy my team can use is to try and sweep with rollout. The issue is that Pelipper continuously interrupts Azumarill by either using Supersonic or Protect. I can defeat her, but then Skarmory comes out and starts using Sand Attack. On one attempt, I somehow managed to land all of my rollouts against Skarmory and got to Altaria. But my rollout had ended and her Dragon Breath was doing too much damage compared to Azumarill's weak rollout. Still, an impressive gym to end up at for last Robin. The next one we're going to see is Youngster DeAndre from Route 118, and he has a team of Aeron, Zigzagoon, and Electrike. Both Aeron and Electrike weren't enough to beat Broly, and with Zigzagoon being normal type, I don't think it's going to go any better. But I don't lose anything by trying. So I give it a shot, but the best Zigzagoon could do was lower Machop's defense with Tail Whip. However, since I already knew that both Aeron and Electrike weren't enough to defeat Makuhita, it didn't really matter. The one that we're going to see next is a bit of a weird one, as she's not technically a lass, but uses the same sprite as one. The trainer is Vivi, and she's the younger daughter of the Windstrait family. Her trainer class is Windstrait, but I decided to include her here anyway since she uses the same sprite that a lass would use. She has a team of Meryl, Shroomish, and Numel. You know this one is going to be fun. Anyways, we know that we can skip Roxanne, and when fighting with Robin's team that had Meryl, Shroomish, and Skitty against Broly, I didn't really use Skitty, so we can skip that one as well. That means that the next fight is Watson, and I annihilated him. Numel with Magnitude was able to easily defeat Voltorb, Electrike, and Magneton. In the run you're seeing, I got a bit unlucky with my first hit against them, making me need to hit them twice before defeating them. Still, thanks to that, I was going into the Manectric fight with Breloom at full HP, so it was just a matter of landing Leech Seed and Stun Spore to defeat Watson and get the third badge. Also, yes, I did forget to swap Lombre for a Azumarill when making the team, but I didn't use it, so it didn't really matter. For Flannery, once again I led with Numel with Magnitude. I had to get some decent rolls, as the low ones weren't enough to defeat neither Numel nor Slugma, but with Magnitude 6 or 7, I was able to one-shot them. As for Camerupt, if I didn't get a high one, he either used Tackle or Sunny Day, but neither of them mattered. When going into Torkoal, I only managed to get one Magnitude before getting defeated by Overheat. I sent Breloom, and this was for two reasons. One is to get the Leech Seed, and two was to waste turns of Sunny Day in case it was up. With that, all that was left was to send a Azumarill and defeat Flannery with Bubble Beam. As for Norman, it's Numel once more. Spinda with Teeter Dance can be annoying, so I threw Numel since he was the one that would do the least during this fight. If I didn't defeat him, I was going to send a Azumarill and try to set up Defense Curl for rollout. For Vigoroth, rollout usually did the trick, but Breloom can finish him off either way with Mach Punch. The same for Linoon, who does do some damage to Breloom, but not enough to really matter. Finally for Slacking, it's the same as with last Robin. Use Leech Seed, Mach Punch when he's loafing around, and Mega Drain when he's going to attack. With that, I got my 5th badge. I then went to fight Winona, but just like with last Robin, Pelipper and Skarmory are just too much for my team. I thought that now that I evolved my Numel into Camerupt and got Rock Slide, I would have an easier time. But with Altaria having Earthquake and Camerupt being slow, he's just not able to do much against her. I even tried setting up Amnesias against Swablu, which helped against Pelipper, as Water Gun was doing almost nothing, but again, Altaria with Earthquake was just too much. Really thought I was going to be able to get to Tate and Lysa after seeing the normal fights, but I guess not. Finally, there's both Youngster Calvin from Route 102 and Last Haley from Route 104. Now, the people that really know Pokemon Emerald were probably wondering if I forgot about those true trainers. You know, the youngster that had only a Poochyena at the start, and the last that had a Shroomish and a Lotad when exiting Petalburg Forest. The thing about those trainers is that they are the only youngsters and last in the game that can be rematched with the Pokénav, getting a better team each time you fight them, ending with a team of Mightyena, Linoon, and Swellow for youngster Calvin, and a team of Swellow, Lombre, and Breloom in the case of Last Haley. Because that is still their team, even if it's only after fighting them like 4 times, I'm going to allow their team to be those Pokemon. I'm still starting with Poochyena, Zigzagoon, and Taillow with Calvin. I know I said it's their team, but there's no way your average trainer is going to show up against Roxanne with 3 fully evolved Pokemon. Let's start with Calvin. With Poochyena having Bite, he was able to two-shot both of Roxanne's Geodudes. As for Nosepass, I switched to Taillow, used Growl a couple of times before fainting, and then sent Zigzagoon, who used both Sand Attack and Growl to get Roxanne's Nosepass to minus its accuracy and minus its attack. Something funny that I didn't notice while doing that was that Nosepass used Block, preventing Zigzagoon from switching out. So I had to use Headbutt with Zigzagoon doing close to no damage until he fainted. Eventually that happened and I sent Poochyena, who easily finished off Nosepass. Broly was an interesting one. Poochyena evolved into Mightyena, but he's still weak to fighting moves. However, the utility that Intimidate provides is enough to make him useful at the start against Machop. On most occasions, he's able to defeat him thanks to Bite flinches. However, if he doesn't, it doesn't really matter, as Zigzagoon is able to finish him off with Headbutt and then do the same for Meditite. For Makuhita, I use Headbutt to do some cheap damage before fainting. With that, when I send Taillow, Wing Attack either KOs him or leaves him with a sliver of HP. If that happens, it's not an issue, as he heals with his Citrus Berry, getting out of healing range and doesn't KO me back, so Taillow just needs to hit again to defeat him. Watson, however, is where Calvin's run ends. Magneton just counters everything my team has. Even when I got both Swallow and Linoon, none of them have the tools to counter a Steel-type Pokemon with an electric move that never misses. I thought about trying to set up House with Mightyena, but the best physical move he has is Tackle, so that plan was immediately scratched. The same for Sand Attack and Double Team strats, as, like I said, Magneton has an electric move that never misses. It's a shame, but at least I got to fully evolve the whole team. I've already talked about Last Haley's team, and we know that both Shroomish and Lotad can get to Watson. So let's see if adding a Taillow, turn Swallow by that point, makes the fight possible. So to start, I use Swallow to deal with Voltorb. She has enough bulk to leave one Spark and has a high enough attack to two-shot him with Quick Attack. As for Electrike, I can land one hit, but obviously faint to the next electric move. I then use the same strategy that I used with Last Robin, which is send Breloom to Mach Punch both Electric and Magneton, and then use Luid Seed and Stun Spore against the Manectric. It was a bit close, especially if Magneton managed to confuse Breloom. But if I landed both status moves, Lombre could stall for a bit with Fake Out and do enough damage with Swift. I then tried Flannery, but as expected, there's simply no way this team can win against her. None of my Pokemon can one-shot any of her team members, while she does massive damage with Overheat. On one attempt, Flannery's Slugma used Smog and poisoned my Swallow, but even that wasn't enough to one-shot her Camerupt. That same attempt I also managed to get to Torkoal, but she just defeated me with a single Overheat. I'm sure that even if I somehow get to Torkoal with my team at full HP, I still wouldn't be able to beat her. Torkoal just has too much defense and Overheat does too much damage. It was a good attempt, but I knew it wasn't going to get past her. So, after playing through Emerald with every youngster in last team, here are the results. Out of 30 battles, 22 are against different trainers. Of those 22, 17 managed to get past Roxanne, 7 managed to get past Broly, 5 managed to get past Watson, 4 managed to get past Flannery, and only 3 managed to get past Norman, being defeated by Winona. I don't know what shocked me the most out of all of the fights that I did. The fact that a lot of level up movesets suck, how every last managed to get past Roxanne but most of them got stuck on Broly, how much the game hates normal types for at least the first 3 gyms, how broken Geodude is in the early game, or how a Pelipper and a Skarmory managed to end the 3 teams that managed to get past Norman. Either way, the results show that the youngsters and the lasses, just like their Pokemon, should just stick to the early game. Anyways, did I miss anything on the video? If you think so, let me know in the comments below. This video was inspired by 8F's Can Victory Road trainers actually get all 8 badges, so I'll leave the link to the video in the description and on the top of the screen. Thanks for watching this video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.